Okay, if not else, okay, we will get started. Now, Baruch Hashem, as we know, we're always going to get into this week's parasha. But before we get into this week's parasha, we're going to talk about this week's Torah portion. We're going to get into a few questions. We know the whole Sefer Shemot, the whole book of Shemot in general, deals primarily with the exodus of Egypt. Obviously with Matan Torah, with the getting of the Torah, but it deals primarily with the Jews in Egypt and them getting out of Egypt, the whole process, and ultimately getting to the place where they're building up to the next chapter. We know in this week's parasha, the Torah tells us that every single person is commanded, v'yigarata binchem, which basically means you said over to your children. That's why on Pesach we go over the Haggadah. And on Pesach, everybody knows, you've ever been in a Pesach Seder, the longest part of the Pesach Seder is the Haggadah, the story, this one, and the Rasha, Ma'omer, and this one, and so on and so forth. But more than that, the Torah also commands us to remember Mitzrayim every single day. Not only once a day, multiple times a day. When? Kriyat Shema. At the end of Kriyat Shema, at the end of the Shema prayer, we say, Ani Hashem Elokechem, I'm the one who took you out of Egypt, to remind you every single day. And more than that, all the concept of Judaism we see revolves around primarily, mostly Egypt. Pesach, Passover in Egypt. We have Sukkot, the huts that we did when we left in the Midbar, and so on and so forth. These holidays are building up holidays centered around the story of the Egypt, the Exodus, and the Midbar, and us being in the wilderness. What's going on over here? Why does Hashem place so much emphasis on us recounting these stories, going over them again and again and again, replanting it in our minds, telling us to recount it and recount it and recount it and make sure your children know it and go over the story again and again and again? To understand this, we have to understand the origin, the beginning place of why Hashem decreed the Jewish people are going to go down to slavery in the first place. You should know that before Yitzchak was even born, which was the father of Yaakov, who was the father of all the tribes, who ultimately come down to Egypt, before anyone was even born, just Avraham Avinu, before God even changed his name was just Avraham without the hey. Hashem comes to him and tells him, and you should know that your children are going to be sojourners, they're going to be gerim in a land that's not their own. And they're going to enslave them, and they're going to work them hard for 400 years. Before Avraham Avinu even has a son, before Yitzchak is even born, before the story even starts, Hashem already tells Avraham Avinu, just know, your children are going to be enslaved in a nation, not their own. And they're going to be oppressed, and they're going to have hardship, they're going to have a difficult time, and they're going to be enslaved. Why? This question is posed by the Gemara in Nedarim. The Gemara in Nedarim asks, why was Avraham punished? That his children had to go down to be slaves in Egypt for 210 years. What did they do? What did they do? The Gemara goes on to give an account of things that Avraham Avinu did that were a little bit lacking emunah. He should have had a little more emunah. The Gemara and of course the Midrash, Chazal bring down a few different answers. One of them, of course, we know, is that when Lot was taken, his nephew was taken, he went out to war, he took all the students out of the shul together. The Torah tells us, elef lemateh, half in the prayer, half in the battlefield. Avraham took them all out. Hashem says, you should have had belief that you don't need them all. This is according to the Pshat. Another time, when he won the war, he gathered all the people, and now they were his. And the king of Sodom tells him, give me the people and take the possessions. Avraham should have kept the people and used the opportunity to instill some faith into them. Because he didn't do that, that's what the Gemara says. However, Chazal teaches a few different answers. Chazal teach us, Parashat Lech Lecha, God comes to Avraham and he tells him, Lech Lecha me'artzecha u'molotecha, go from your place, from your birthplace, from your father's home, and go. Where am I going? To the place I'm going to show you. And where does Hashem take him? To Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel. Good? He gets to Israel. What's going on in Israel? And there's a famine in the land. What kind of famine? The worst famine in history and the first famine in history. And what does Avraham Avinu do? He goes down to Egypt. Wait a minute. Who told you to go down to Egypt? Did Hashem ever tell Avraham Avinu go down to Egypt? He told him, leave, go to the land I'm going to show you. Happens to be, he gets to Eretz Yisrael, he gets to the land of Israel, where Hashem took him, and there's a famine over there. And he decides on his own, you know what? Halas, I cannot be here, there's a famine. I have to go down to Egypt. Who told you to go down to Egypt? Who told you to go down to Egypt? The Midrash also brings a different answer. That Avraham Avinu, Hashem promised him that I'm going to give you children. From who? From your wife. Who is his wife? Sarah. From this woman I'm going to give you children. They try. Sarah's barren. She can't have children. And then what happens? Avraham says, okay, what am I going to do? Sarah comes and tells him, marry this woman, my midwife, my shivcha. Take her, marry her, and have a child with her, and I'll have children through her. Who told Avraham Avinu to do that? Hashem said to marry Hagar and have children through her. And who came out of this marriage? Ishmael. And until today we're suffering from Ishmael. Who told Avraham Avinu to marry her? He should have waited. Hashem patiently would have gave him Sarah at the right time in the right place. And another question. Okay, so Avraham did something not so, a little bit lack of faith. Okay, what does it do with us? Why do we have to suffer for this thing? What did I do? You understand? What does it have to do with me? That's what the Gemara says, that there's 3 attributes to every single Jew. We said this in the past. That is, Rahmanim, Baishanin, and Gomlei Chasadim. They're people who are merciful, they're bashful, and they do kindness with others. However, Rabbi Chaim Volozhin says, not only those things, every single attribute of the forefathers were passed down to us. Every single one. We spoke about it in length in the past. Hashem says, if this sliver of faith, of lack of faith, for one moment Avraham Avinu did something that was a little bit lacking faith, and anyone else in the world would have said, what did God expect me to do? There's no food over here. There's no water over here. What am I supposed to do? Well, am I supposed to stay over here? Everything looks like that's the right answer. And Hashem says, for this sliver, for this one moment of lack of faith, they have to go down to Egypt to be slaves, because the whole matara, the whole reason that we went down to Egypt in the first place is to strengthen our emunah and bitachon, to strengthen our faith in God. You look at the Jews in Egypt, elu ve'elu, avodah zarah, of the The Jews and the Egyptians, they both worshiped idols. How did we get stronger to God in Egypt? We got further away from Hashem. But really, we have to understand, Hashem wanted to give us the greatest treasure in the whole entire world. Hashem wanted to give us the greatest treasure in the whole entire world, which is the Torah. Hashem says, I want to give you the Torah. It's the greatest treasure in the whole entire world. I want to give it to you. But if I just gave it to you, you wouldn't really appreciate it. If you didn't work hard for it, you would never really appreciate it. A kid who was born to a rich family, his father's a multi-billionaire. Kid grows up, 16 years old, Daddy, what do you want? He says, what car do you want? I want a Lamborghini Urus. Daddy buys him a Lamborghini Urus. Turns 18, what do you want? I want $1 million. So Daddy gives him $1 million. When he comes 29, 21, what do you want? I want a mansion in Beverly Hills. So he buys him a mansion in Beverly Hills. And so on and so forth. This is the kid's life. You think he's ever going to appreciate anything his father did for him? God forbid, one time he calls his father and asks him for something, and his father says no. Oh, what happened now? Hashem says, if I'm going to let you truly appreciate the present I want to give you, I have to make you work for it, first of all. So he brings us down. He brings us on a lower level, and then he brings us back up. Why? So that we can truly appreciate it. And in the same time that Hashem tells Avraham Avinu that your children are going to go down and be enslaved, and he says, and don't worry, they're going to leave berechush gadol, they're going to leave with a big wealth. What was Hashem talking about? Hashem was talking about the Torah. However, we see the Jews in this week's parasha, what did they leave Egypt with? Gold, silver, riches. Says the Magi Meduvno, he asks a question. He said, wait a minute. Hashem promised him the greatest treasure in the world. Why did he give them money? Why does he give them money? He says it's a parable. What's a parable? So one guy has a son. His son decided he's going to go work for this contractor. He's going to work for him for 3 months internship. And at the end of the internship, the payment is going to be a bag of silver coins. Kid works really hard, 3 months. At the end of the 3 months, the boss says, you know what? This kid worked really, really hard. I don't want to give him a bag of silver coins. I want to give him a check for 4 times the amount. The bag of silver coins worth $2,000. I'm writing him a check for $8,000. Kid comes in. He gets a check for $8,000. He's expecting $2,000 in silver coins. He gets a check for $8,000. How happy is he supposed to be? The kid gets the check in the hand. He says, makes a face like that, and walks off angry. An hour later, the father walks into the guy and tells him, look, I'm so sorry. He goes, my son is young and naive. You told him 3 months he's going to work, he's going to get some shiny silver coins. And then you handed him a piece of paper. He said, what is this piece of paper? I want my silver coins. So if you don't mind, rewrite the check, make it for $7,500, and give him $500 in coins. So that way at least he has something to see. So too, says the Maggid, Avraham Avinu came to Hashem, he says, look, the Jewish people now are coming out of Egypt, they're not at the highest level right now, they can understand truly what the present of Torah is. They can understand what the present I'm giving to them in their hands. So give them a few gold coins also on the way. So they also have something to bask in. But the reality is if a person truly understood and went into the concept and realized that the Torah is the answer to every single one of its problems in the whole entire world. The Torah is the answer to every problem you'll face in your life. You have a problem with money? The Torah is the answer. You have a problem with zivug, happiness in your marriage, getting married? The Torah is the answer. Every question you can have in your life, every suffering, everything you could possibly imagine, the Torah is the answer to get you out of it. Hashem gave you a Torah, gave you this Torah. It's not just a book. It's a light. You know, Rav Moshe Lelever, he says that if a person falls in a deep hole, finds himself in a deep hole, and he's by himself, can he ever get out? Guy falls into a 10-foot hole, can get out? Possible? He calls, no reception, 10 feet down. Huh? There's no way. He's not getting out of it by himself until someone throws him down a rope. Someone throws him down a rope, then he can get out. He said, Moshe Lelever, what's this rope? He said, that's emunah, having faith in Hashem. A person can find himself in a deep place, in a dark place, and Hashem handed him down a rope. And he says, if you grab onto the rope, you'll get out of here. If you grab onto this rope, you'll get out of here. That present is in front of you 24/7. That rope is in front of you 24/7. All you have to do is grab it. And it's the biggest present you could ever have. You know why? Because not only does that save you from everything you have in your life, everything that's hardship, difficulties, and we'll see in the past, in the future, we're going to talk a little bit right now, and a little bit later, we're going to talk about the concept of suffering a little bit. And I want to bring down a nice idea to you guys, and we'll see it in a moment. But the opportunity is sitting in front of you 24/7, and Hashem gives you a helping hand to get out of everything. You want to know how I know? There's a pasuk in Yeshayahu that says, Kol tzaratam lo tzar. You know what that means? Every suffering for the Jewish nation is suffering for Hashem. That when Hashem sees you suffering, He's also suffering with you. How do you know? When Hashem wants to redeem the Jewish nation, what does He come to them? He shows Moshe Rabbeinu in a burning bush. What kind of bush was it? A thorn bush. The commentary asks, why was it a thorn bush for? Who cares if it's a thorn bush? To show that He was telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you think my children are suffering, I'm not suffering with them? You think that they're suffering, I'm not suffering with them, so they go Masechet Ta'anit. There's a whole process a person goes through when there's no rain, fast, and series of fasts and actions that we do. One of the things we do, if it gets to that point, we take the ashes and we put it on the altar, on the teva. The Gemara says, why do we do that? To show that Hashem is suffering with us. To show that Hashem is suffering with us. But I want to focus in on a beautiful point. If you look in the pasuk in Yeshayahu, it says, Kol tzaratam lo tzar, nachon? It's for him. The word lo is actually spelled lamed aleph in the pasuk, which basically means it's not. And we read it lamed vav, which means it's for him. Meaning the real way to read the pasuk is Kol tzaratam, every suffering for them, lo tzar, it's not suffering. What do you mean it's not suffering? When a person understands that every suffering he goes through his whole entire life is not suffering. Elama, what is it? It's Hashem giving you an opportunity to make you to the highest places, to bring you up, to bring you to the highest level you could possibly be, to make you grow. And sometimes we're not okay to see it. We're not okay. The Saba Mekelim, he says, this week's parasha, Kadesh li kol bechor, we sanctify every firstborn. Till today, if a woman gives birth to a baby boy, she has to do a pidyon. She has to go and give money to exchange. Why? Hashem says, sanctify for me every firstborn. Why? Says the Saba Mekelim, he says, you know why they got an extra level of holiness? Because during the 10th plague of Makat Bechorot, when God went out and killed the firstborn, they were afraid, they were terrified. And that fear caused them a little bit of pain. Hashem rewarded them for that pain. And the Jewish nation, they had 9 when they were afraid. They got Kadosh. We got to be holy because of the 9. But they had 1 more than us, and they got an extra level of Kedusha. They got an extra level of sanctification. Which basically means, if we look into the words of what the Saba is telling us, that every time you suffer, every ounce of suffering, every ounce of pain you feel is calculated, and you're rewarded accordingly. And you're rewarded accordingly. One of the Mefarshim says that a person who's very good looking, his test in the world is not like anyone else's test in the world. A guy who's not so good looking and he says, no, I stay away from women, Chazak u'Baruch, they stay away from you. Ma'asita, you know? You don't have to try so hard. But a person who's very good looking, He says, I stay away from women. That's a big shebach. Why? Because it can be the opposite. And Hashim explain, according to the pain is according to the reward. A person who has to fight even harder from himself to do something, the reward is that much greater because the suffering is that much harder. The pain is that much harder, therefore Hashem says, I'm going to reward you tenfold for that. Yosef was zocheh to be the viceroy of Egypt, the highest level in Egypt, because he was shomer tabrit. How do you know? He's negative sfirav yesod. Because when he had the biggest test in the whole entire world, which was Esther Potiphar, the most beautiful woman in Egypt sitting in him telling him, be with me, he ran away. The only person that the Torah calls beautiful as a man was Yosef HaTzadik. You understand what Yosef looked like? Yosef was so beautiful, and he was by himself in Egypt, and he kept himself, and guess what? He was zocheh too because of that. Because of the immense challenge that he went through, he ended up becoming one of the wealthiest people in the whole entire world, one of the main people in the whole entire world. Why? Because he overcame that hardship. And so too Hashem works with you and He says, just know, if you have a little bit of suffering right now, you have a little bit of hardship right now, you have a little bit of difficulty right now, overcome it, persevere, because just know that if you overcome this hardship, the reward, the light that will be at the end of this will be that much greater. And the only reason Hashem put you here is for you to get there. And if you got here, just know you can pass it. The strength already is inside of you to pass it. You can get over it and you can overcome it. And you can reach high levels. And I want to focus in with you on another point. And from here was something else that's so beautiful. You know what another thing a person merits to? When he understands that God is in charge of everything? We spoke about in the past how when Moshe goes out on the second day in Egypt to go and suffer with his brothers, he sees two Jews fighting. Right? Rashi says, who are the two Jews? Datan v'Aviram, the same two who kept from the man, the food that came down from heaven, for the next day. Who cares? Two Jews fighting, the same ones that took from the man. What does one person keeping money for food for tomorrow have to do with two Jews fighting? The Gemara Masechet Sotah says, Kol sheyesh lo pat beselo ve'omer ma ochal lemachar eno ela miktane amana. Anyone who has food in his basket and asks, what am I going to eat tomorrow? What am I going to have for tomorrow? Is from the people, is the person who has ktan be'emunah. He's lacking faith. Rashi tells us the same person who will not have faith that tomorrow Hashem will take care of him, that Hashem will take care of him the same way He took care of him today. People forget this. People don't let the past be a testimony for the future. They don't understand that every time in your life you had suffering, you have hardship. At the end of the month, what needed to be, the bill that needed to get paid, got paid. Everything that happened got taken care of. And they don't realize Hashem took care of me up until now. Why wouldn't He take care of me tomorrow? And they worry, what's going to be tomorrow? What's going to be the next day? And what's going to be in a week from now? And what's going to be when I'm 40 years old? And what's going to be when I'm 100? Khalas now, khalas. If Hashem provided for you today, take it as a testament that Hashem's going to provide for you tomorrow. And if you don't believe that, then you're lacking a little bit more now. Says Rashi, the same person who doesn't believe that Hashem will take care of him tomorrow, that God will take care of him tomorrow, is the same person who will fight with another Jew. You know why? Why are you going to fight with another Jew? No, he did me dirty. He cheated me. He stole from me. He doesn't realize, this guy's only the stick. Chavot Elavot says, Hashem, He says a person who fights another Jew is like a dog who his owner beats him with a stick, and the dog starts biting the stick. Why are you biting the stick? What did the stick do to you? Miskan the stick. Go bite the owner. Go talk to the owner. Go deal with your owner. Hello, what are you doing over here? No, he's biting the stick. It's the same thing when a guy comes now, his boss fires him. He gets into a fight with his friend. One guy steals from him a deal. He doesn't close this deal, that deal. He thinks, this guy's a rasha, he's a wicked person. And he starts beating him up. All you're doing is biting the stick. You think, nothing's going to change. And that's why if we look back, when did Hashem redeem them? They were in suffering in Egypt and slaves, and Hashem didn't send Moshe Rabbeinu for many years. 40 years Kush, 10 years here. For many years He didn't send Moshe until when? Look in the Pasuk in the Torah, what did it say? And it was in those, and it was in those plentiful days, as the king of Egypt died, the Jews felt the heavy workload that they had on them in Egypt, and they called out to God. And right away, Hashem answers them. Wait a minute. You've been here in Egypt for multiple years, suffering, for hundreds of years suffering, and only now you wake up that you're suffering? What's going on over here? They thought in their mind, you know why we're suffering? Because this Paro is a wicked person. And when he's going to die, then we're going to dance and sing. And then he dies, and then the workload only gets It doesn't get any better. I said, wait a minute. So he's not the problem? Oh no. And then they cry out to Hashem. And as soon as they cry out to Hashem, Hashem redeems them. As soon as a person realizes this person is not the issue. This guy screaming at you, this boss who fired you, he's not the problem. He's just a stick. Hashem is the one holding the stick. Why is he doing it to him? Vaizaku, you cry out to him. And right away you'll see the redemption. Right away you see the Yeshua. There's a reason why Gemara Masechet Brachot says, Sheba elav yisurim, when a person has suffering come unto him. What's the first thing he does? Beat the guy up. No. What's the first thing he does at the Gemara? Mifashpesh b'ma'asav. He looks into his actions. Why? I would think the first thing is beat the guy up. You do me wrong, I do you wrong. You do me dirty, I do you dirty. No problem. We'll take revenge. Says the Gemara, look into your actions. Why? What have to do with me? Because Hashem is talking to you. Forget this guy. Hashem will take care of him. Don't worry. He'll get his just desserts. But you don't have to be the one to deal with him. Hashem will take care of him. But take away what's supposed to be to you. What is Hashem trying to tell you? Look up to Hashem and say, Hashem, what are you telling me? And guess what? As soon as you realize that the person behind him, that there's somebody holding the stick, and you go to him, guess what? There's no more stick. There's no more trouble. Hashem says, okay, now I got it. Now you got it? Perfect. Now I'm coming. Now you got it, now I'm coming. And a person thinks, oh, I'll take revenge. Revenge is so sweet. The Torah prohibits you. There's a pasuk in Vayikra that says, you're not allowed to take revenge. You're not allowed to hold a grudge. You have to love every single, you have to love every single Jew. The Torah says you can't hold a grudge. Why? You can't have revenge. Why can't you take revenge? Because you don't realize when you take revenge, you're only hurting yourself. Some people in the world, they think, I'm going to get him back. I'm going to do this. Who are you hurting? You're only hurting yourself. There's a parable I heard. One kid grew up in a neighborhood with two friends, neighbors, next door neighbors. Yeah? And they were young, they were the same age, they would go hang out on the streets. One day they were in the park, and one of the boys embarrasses the other boy in front of all the friends. He goes home crying that day, and his father sees that he's crying, goes into the room, he says, what happened? He goes, oh, this, him, he embarrassed me in front of everybody. I'm going to get him back, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. The father says, okay, before you do all of that, you mind just coming with me for a second? He says, yeah, no problem. Come with me for a second. They go to the backyard. The father takes a white shirt, hangs it up on the drying rack. Remember those? The drying rack? The drying rack. He puts a bag of charcoal about a few feet away. Tells the kid, pick up from the charcoal, and every bad intention you have, imagine that this boy is the white shirt, and the charcoal is all the things you want to do to him. Good? So the kid says, yeah, it's a great idea. I like it. Take out my aggression. Yeah, like a boxing bag. Yeah, takes the charcoal, starts, wow, boom, boom, throwing. It was very far away. He maybe threw 15, 20 charcoals. Maybe one or two actually got over there. The rest of them didn't even make it. At the end, he sees a few specks of charcoal on the white shirt. The father tells him, no, how you feel? He goes, yeah, I feel better now. He says, good. You see how he sees? Like, look how much I got him. I got a few little dots over there of gray. He says, come inside. Now, come look inside. He goes to the mirror and says, look at you. Look at you. You wanted to get him dirty? Who did you really get dirty? The kid is covered with charcoal. Kid is covered with charcoal. He says, now go shower and give me these clothes. I have to go to laundry now. Go to the garbage. Masita. You got a few specks on him, Chazak Baruch, but really you hurt yourself. Another mashal I heard. One day a husband comes home, he sees his wife. She didn't know he was coming. Here's his wife is talking to her mother. He did like this, he did like that, talking about him. He comes home and he hears, she's talking about me to her mother like that? She wants to paint me in a negative image? Okay, I want to show her. Calls his mom. Yeah, mom, you know my wife? You know my wife? She goes, yeah, I love her. She's such a good girl. You think she's a good girl, right? Let me tell you who my wife really is. And wow, motzit kol chavila, all the package. Woo! Now, what he didn't know is his mother-in-law was on the phone defending him. No, it's okay, it's normal, don't worry, your dad also wasn't a good husband. You like that one? Yeah, don't worry. But the mother, his mother, she wasn't doing the same thing back. This is my baby. From that day on, the mother hated the wife. She couldn't see her. The relationship she had with her daughter-in-law from that day on was ruined. It got so bad to the point that it ultimately brought them to divorce. It got so bad that his mother literally couldn't be with this woman in the same room. She said, it's her and my mother, what am I going to do? Had to divorce her. Until this day, he regretted that phone call that he made. Chaval, I thought I'm taking revenge, and I was jigging myself up. Who am I hurting? I'm hurting myself. I first think I'm going to go take revenge. Habibi, relax. Just know, this person's not the problem. You're just a stick. The Khatam Sofer tells you want the biggest proof to this? A proof in the Torah. What's the proof in the Torah? When Hashem sends Moshe and Aaron the first time, He sends them to Paro, they take their staffs with Him. Hashem tells Aaron, turn your staff into a snake. Everybody knows this, right? He turns the staff into a snake, and then comes the magicians. They turn the staff into a snake, and it's all a magic party of it. They do card tricks. Everybody's, The Midrash actually relates that when Aaron turned the staff into a snake, Paro started laughing. He says, this simple trick? Come on. My wife can do this trick. Calls his wife. Gives her a stack. Go ahead. She throws it on the ground. Boom, turns into a snake. Wow. He says, you think that's crazy? Calls a 4-year-old kid. Hello, take the staff. Kid throws it, turns into a snake. He says, why you come over here with these simple card tricks? We know all these little... All of a sudden, the necromancers come out to Aaron and they tell him, you know what would be impressive? If your snake turned back into a staff, turned back into a stick, and swallowed our snake. At that moment, his snake turned back into a staff, swallowed their staffs, and say the same. Says like on Masechet Shabbat, 2 miracles happened here. What miracles? That the staff, that it turned back into a staff, 1 miracle, and that it swallowed their staffs. What difference does it make if it was a snake or if it was a staff? Who cares? So it swallowed them. What does it do with anything? It's like Khatam Sofer. What is Hashem doing over here? The Torah doesn't say that it turned it into a snake. Ella, it said it turned it into a tanin. You know what tanin is? A crocodile. Rashi tells us it was a snake. Why does Torah tell us crocodile? The pasuk in the Nevi, in the prophet, tells us that Paro would call himself Tanin Agadol, the big crocodile. The Khatam Sofer says, Ata lo tanin v'ata lo gadol. You're not a crocodile, you're not Atarak Mate. You think you're a big, all great thing? The only thing you are, Paro, is a stick. And that's why he made it happen this way. To show you, you think you're crazy, you think you're this big thing, you think I'm the king over here, I'm in charge, I'm the president, I'm in. Habibi, you're only a stick. When Hashem wants, you do. When He doesn't want, you don't do, no matter what you're going to do. Huh? This week's Parashat, multiple times, Leman, for that, all of these miracles that happen, all the 10 makot, these 10 plagues that happen in Egypt, for the Egyptians to know. Like a Dega Mechaneh Ephraim says in the name of his grandfather, Hashem does all these wondrous things against nature for the Egyptians to know that He's God. He says, He did it for us to know. And why did they call Egyptians? Because a person who finds himself far away from Hashem, far away from Hashem, meaning he's not so close to Hashem right now. He's telling us the Torah calls him in a way like an Egyptian. Because he's far away from Hashem. He's still in Mitzrayim. He's still in the point where he still needs to grow to the high level. So Hashem performed all these miracles for him so he'll know. Right? And you think, okay, great, sounds like a nice story. And then you go back a few weeks, and you see the Parashat Shemot. Right when Parashat Shemot started, the California wildfire started. And by now, I'm sure everybody heard this thing. The day before the fire started, they had the Golden Globe Awards. And a comedian comes up, and she says, we took a poll. How many people who thanked how many times what thing? 5 people voted for it, said, thank you, Mom. 4 people said, thank you to my manager. 1 person says, thank you to Mario Lopez. Okay? And 0 to God. And she says, I'm not surprised in this godless place. The next day, the fire starts. And on the news, 0% containment rate. They cannot do anything about it now. Go figure it out. Can't do anything. Why? Now we look at it from the side and say, whoa, this is especially when you see all the stories of the Chabad house and that woman who went to Shabbaton, she came home and all of her neighbors' houses were burned down and her house is the only one standing. What happened over here? Like as if God was here with like a little protection around the house. You want? I'll show you the picture. I have a picture. Every single house around there is burned, and the house over there with the red door, red picket fence, everything's good. Hashem is teaching us, not them. Hashem wants us to know. Hashem wants us to understand that there is a God in the world. And I am in charge of things. And I do take care of everything. And you have to know that I'm behind everything. Because when you understand that I'm behind everything, when you understand these people are just sticks. These people, who is this guy? Then you're never going to fight with another person. You're never going to want to take revenge. You're never going to hold a grudge. Your whole life will be sweet. You'll never fight with another person in your life. You never have a moment of suffering because every time you find yourself in a hole, you have that rope to pull you out. Every time you find yourself in trouble, Hashem gave you another way out. Hashem gave you another way out. I'm telling you guys, when a person gets into the Torah, you guys think, oh, this guy rabbi is talking craziness. Yeah. I maybe am talking a little craziness, yeah? But I'm not. Because I live it. I'm telling you wholeheartedly. The Torah, when a person utilizes it, knows how to use it, gets into it, it opens up in his mind things he's never seen before in his whole entire life. It makes him a different person. It makes him a different person now. He's not an angry person. He's not a person who gets... Anyone who knows me from when I was young, talking 15 years ago, I was an angry person. Today, no matter how hard you try, you cannot get me angry. Look at Chaim in the back, he's going... He's like, yes, he was. I was an angry person. Today, you come, you'll spit on me, you'll slap me. I love you, actually. I love you. Because I learned to look past all of it, and I realized that, you know what, if something is happening to me, that Hashem is talking to me, this person is just the stick, he's the puppet, and he's a miskin. And that's why Hashem says, you know why you have to recount all of these things? You have to recount all these things. The Chafetz Chaim has a story over that one time a person went to the doctor. He had a pain in his throat. Comes to the doctor, I have a pain in the throat. So the doctor gives him a prescription for a pill. He goes to the pharmacy, picks up the pill, and he takes the pill. Comes back 3 days later to the doctor, doctor, it still hurts. He tells him, no, what did you do? He's like, I swallowed it. He's like, you idiot. It was a lozenge pill, you were supposed to suck on it. Why'd you swallow it, you hamo? What'd you do? You give another prescription and like go home and suck on it. Let the medicine take its course. Hashem says every day you have to recount the story of Egypt. For what? Yeah? And just to go and to swallow the words. No. That's what Hashem wants from you. To take the words and understand what you're saying, to digest them, to wait a minute, what's going on over here? What am I talking about? I'm God who took you out of Egypt. What's so miraculous about taking out Egypt? Oh, and then you understand, God took them out of a dark place and brought them to the highest place. Oh, wait a minute, that's me. Right now I'm in suffering, right now I'm in hardship. I have Hashem on my side. You come to Pesach Haggadah, you're not just saying, you know, some people like, I one time a few guests over for Pesach and I'm Machmir. So when I go to the Haggadah, so I'm going to 2.5 hours, 3 hours, the guy is sitting over there till 1 o'clock in the morning, the meal doesn't start, they want to shoot me. Yeah? And they say, where's the food? I said, this is the food. This is the food. Right here. You hungry? Should have ate it before you came. Titvodeh, your fault. Learn for next year. They don't come again. Yeah. Anyone's invited, by the way, if you want to come for Pesach. You get home at 5 o'clock in the morning, but beside the point. Yeah? But all of these things are for a person to take it. And there's a story that one time they brought down, one of the Mepharshim brings down the story, the Chafetz Chaim. Said there was a wealthy man. And this wealthy man had a big house, a big palace. And in this palace, he had one of his prized possessions once, he had a bird. And this bird was able to sing. You know, all these type of things. The bird was able to sing. He says, this is my prized possession. One day he had to go on a business deal. He had to go very far away. So he tells one of his servants in the house, look, I'm putting you in charge. And he gives him a list. Every day you have to do this, and water the plants, and wash the windows. And he gives him a whole list. And in the end, he writes him a whole thing about how to take care of the bird. What time to feed it, what time to take it out, when to play with it, when to sing with it, the whole 9 yards. And before he leaves, he tells him, look, I want you to make sure that you go over this thing every single day so you don't make any, so you know what's going on over here. The guy comes back 3 months later, the house is in ruins, the bird is dead. Comes to the guy and says, what'd you do? He said, I did exactly what you told me. I read it every day. I read the note every single day. I know it by heart. What am I going to do with you? What am I going to do with this guy now? Huh? This is like a person, Hashem says, go read the story of Mitzrayim, go to the Pesach, go. And then I'm like, yeah, no, I read it. I read the whole thing. You know why Hashem gives us the story of Mitzrayim? Hashem is telling us the address. You know what I mean? Hashem is telling us the address? I'll tell you the story. And Bezrat Hashem, I'll finish with this. No guarantees. I'm trying to finish with this. I'm not, anyone who knows me, there's no guarantees. Yeah? I'll try and finish with this. There was a Jew, his name was Yisrael, he lived in the city of Brisk, in the city of Ashkenaz. A very wealthy guy, learning guy, smart, good guy, right? Doing very good business. One day, unfortunately, he falls the opposite. He goes from being very wealthy to being one of the people in the city who owes the biggest debts. He owes everybody money. To the point where he owed 3,500 ruble, which is a lot of money. Okay? He goes around and asking people, can you give me a loan? Give me a loan. Nobody has $3,500 in ruble in Brisk. He says, what am I going to do? I have to go to London. To who? To Rothschild. His name is Baron Rothschild. That's, by the way, is a name they gave him in London over there. It's like a political name, Baron, right? They used to be religious, the Rothschilds. So he goes over there, 3 months on a ship. Not like today, you get on a flight, 3 hours you're over there, you land, TSA. 3 months on a ship, he has to go over there. He doesn't have money. He sells all of his possessions in his house. He gives his wife half the money to survive over this for the next 3 months, takes the half, pays for the ship. Goes on a ship for 3 months, gets to this guy Rothschild. He gets there on Thursday morning. He asks around, where can I find Rothschild? They tell him, go to this place over here. He has a community gathering every Thursday for people who need money. Go over there. He goes over there. He sees a line out the door. 2 people standing in the front. Neither of them is Rothschild. And they're handing out 1 ruble to this guy, 2 rubles to this guy. And the guy realizes that he needs a $3,500 ruble loan. He's not, these guys are giving out 1 ruble, 2 rubles. There's no way they can help him over here. He starts crying. The 2 guys who were in charge see him crying. They come up to him and say, what happened? He explained to them the situation. He said, you know what? Rothschild, on Friday, before Shabbat, he closes his business at midday. At midday, Chatzot, go to him. And when he closes the business, go talk to him. So the next day, he waits at the store. Midday, he comes. He sees the guy. He says, look, I haven't talked to you. He says, wait, before you talk to me, where are you going to be Shabbat? He goes, what do you mean, where am I going to be Shabbat? I don't have anywhere to be. I didn't even think about it. He says, you know what? Come to me. The guy was so excited. Later, I get to go to Hardship for Shabbat. Very nice. They get over there. They go to Shul. On Shabbat, you're not going to talk business. You're not going to talk these things. So he says, okay, I'm not going to talk. They go to Shul. They come back. They have a meal. They start singing. They see Israel from Bris starts giving a shiur Torah. Darshan, he comes up to the bima. He says, look, I come at the meal. Oh, Mitzrayim, this, that. Oh, Rothschild's very impressed with him. Comes in the morning, gives another class. Oh, very nice. At the end of Shabbat, right before they do Havdalah, Rothschild tells this guy, when we finish Havdalah, when we take out Shabbat, come to my office. Comes to the office, sits down with him, he tells him, no, tell me a story. He goes, look, unfortunately, I used to be very rich. I used to be very wealthy. And I fell down from my horse. And now I need a loan of 3,500 ruble. So Rothschild looks at him and tells him, how much money did you have when you were at your highest point? When you were the most you ever had. What was the highest point you ever were? The guy says, the highest point I ever was, 10,000 ruble. He says, very nice. Turns around, goes to the safe, opens the safe, takes out a sack of 10,000 ruble, puts it on the table. The guy looks at him and says, well, I only asked for a loan for 3,500. I don't know if I can handle a loan too big. He says, no loan, present. For me to use, take it, it's yours. Takes a piece of letter, writes his name and his address, and puts it on top of the money. The guy, of course, is very thankful, present $10,000, but what is this letter for? He goes, what do you want, a receipt for the IRS? You want to tell, what am I going to give you? You want to be pen pals? He goes, no. If you got to the place now where you lost yourself, it's possible you could lose yourself again. I feel bad to make you travel 3 months back, forth. Now I know who you are. If God forbid it happens again, send me a letter in the mail, and I'll give you the 10,000 in the mail. Wow, that's great. Says, this is Hashem in the story of Mitzrayim. We were on a high. We came from Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. We were on the highest level. And Hashem brought us down. And Hashem says, oh, in this down, Eser Makot. I gave you 10 Makot, 10 plagues, to show you how great I am. And I took you out of there, and I took you from the darkness to the light. And then I gave you the address. Here's Mitzrayim, so you should know whenever, God forbid, it happens again, you know where to call. So you know where to call. So God forbid you ever find yourself again, you know where to call. Hashem doesn't tell us these things for no reason. Why does Hashem put so much emphasis in the story of Mitzrayim? Why does Hashem put emphasis in the story of Egypt? Because Hashem wants us to ingrain into our hearts and to understand that Hashem is behind anything, everything. And that if you find yourself in a difficult moment, in hardship, or whatever it may be, a person is screaming at you, your boss fired you, he's just a stick. Remember, there's a person behind the scene, there's a person who's holding the stick. And when you call out to him, right away Hashem redeems you. Right away Hashem redeems you. Right away. All you have to know is the right address. Know who you're going to. Hashem, right away Hashem's coming. Don't look at him, don't look at the business, don't look at the money. None of these things are the answer. The money can come, you shout Hashem, fine, in 1 second. Hashem can give you everything in the whole entire world in a millisecond. But what does He want? He wants you to ask. Why does He want you to ask? Why does Hashem want you to ask? Go back to the rich kid we spoke about in the beginning. Every month his father puts him a deposit in the account of $2,000. God forbid the father forgets 1 month to put the deposit of $2,000. He's going to get a phone call from the kid. Hello, Daddy, where's the money? Forget thank you, I appreciate it. Where's the money? But if the father says, look, I have a $2,000 over here in my pocket. I want to give it to you. I'll wait for you to come ask. And every month the kid has to come and says, Daddy, can I have the money? You're going to give it to him. Daddy, can I have the money? Guess what? Every single month, what the kid's going to say? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And he'll never get to a point where he doesn't appreciate. Hashem says, everything you want is already waiting for you. It's in my pocket. All I'm waiting for you to do is to ask. Is to call out to me. Say, Hashem, I need help. Oh, you need help? I got you. You have to know where it comes. You have to know who's the real thing. You have to be real. Real amunah, real bitachon. They one time came to Rav Shalom Arush, and I'll finish with this. Rav Shalom Arush, and I told him, one of his talmidim, one of his students, Rav Shalom Arush is the guy who made the song, Hashem Yitbarach, Tamid Ohev Oti. Right? Everyone knows the song at this point. Yes? I gave a shiur on it, you should know. They came to him and said, Rabbi, I want a blessing. What blessing? Whatever you want, the best blessing you can imagine, give me that blessing. What did he bless them? I bless you that you have emunah amitit, real faith. To really believe in Hashem. Because if you have real faith in Hashem, you'll never have any problems. And that's the secret. They're behind every single thing in the whole entire world. That's what lies behind it. When you understand what's really behind everything, when you understand who's the one working behind the scenes, who's the one who's behind this client, who's the one behind this person, your boss, your kid, your wife, everyone. You understand who's behind it all. Then you know who to call out to. And you're no longer the dog who's biting the stick. Now you know where to go. And Hashem says, and you know, always know you have in front of you the right address. You know where to call. And that man will be zocher to bring Mashiach.